Hi guys, so this is going to be my presentation for the Linguistic Analysis paper. So just a little bit of background on the person I interviewed. Her name is Anna. Well, obviously I changed her name for confidence. She's a 41-year-old woman. She's lived in the same small town in Somerset County for the past 14 years. She actually works with my mother in a bakery in that town. Previous to that, she worked in Hong Kong for 7 years, but she was originally born and raised in the Philippines. Because of this background, she speaks four languages. So English is the language that she speaks most frequently now because, as it's seen below, her husband and her son only speak English. She does speak one language from Hong Kong, and then Alongo is this language that she speaks from the Philippines, and then another dialect from the Philippines is something she also can speak. A little bit more about her. She said she does return to her hometown in the Philippines every 3 to 4 years, and while she's there, she speaks only her native language. But other than that, while she's home, none of her family members that speak her language live here, so that's the only chance she gets to speak her language is when she does go home and visit them. It's clear that she's very proud of her culture, and she represents us in many ways. She loves cooking a lot of meals that are from her hometown from the Philippines, and she brings them into work a lot and shares them with her family and friends. And she also told me that she does feel comfortable speaking English in all different settings because she told me at this point she has to use it so often at work and at home. So she said that even though she's always going to be partial to her native language, English has become very easy for her, very second nature. So how I collect my data, thankfully I had already known her somewhat well, so we didn't have any awkward conversations or anything that. We met for an interview one day, and I explained exactly what this project was about. I wanted to explain to her that her name wasn't going to be on the paper, excuse me, and I explained to her exactly like what I was going to do with the information that I got for her, and then she said she was very excited about it. She gave me permission, and we did a short interview there, just talking about some stuff like that. And then about a week later, we had another meeting where we had a longer spoken interview where I actually got into asking questions about like her home and where she was born, her languages and such. And she told me she was not a strong white writer and only provided me a very very short writing prompt. And I actually tried to get her to give me a longer writing sample, but she doesn't enjoy writing at all, so that was difficult. And in the final meeting, I discussed everything that we found in the paper, and she expressed that she once again gave me permission to actually write this and share it with you. And then I actually got into transcribing the spoken data and then the written sample to analyze her language skills. So the section I chose to discuss today is pragmatics and discourse, and I chose this because this was a section that Anna seemed to have the most strengths in. It was clear from the interviews that we had that she was able to follow all of Grace's maxims. She clearly understood how to address others and was polite during our interactions. She would say, "Hi, I'm Anna," and when we were ending, she would say, "Thank you for your time," and stuff like that. So that was an example for displaying greeting and closures, and overall, it was just very clear to me that she understood the rules, so forth, of speaking with another person, and it was clear also that she understands how to speak in different settings because, as I said, she has to speak English at home, she has to speak English in her workspace, she speaks it in different settings. So it's clear to me that she does have an understanding of how to speak English in different settings. And like I said, because this section had so many strengths, there really was only one main weakness that I saw in the section, but it was kind of a big one. It was clear that she had a lot of difficulty with turn taking during the conversations. There was a lot of times during the interview, and when I was transcribing it, it really became clear to me because I had to keep stopping what I was writing and then type what she said, where she would interrupt me or talk over me. And I know that she's a super, super polite woman. She's so sweet, so I know she would never do this on purpose. So this to me keyed into the fact that this is probably something that's either related to her native language and how it's spoken, or that is something that how she didn't really understand the concepts of turn taking. So I went into strategies, and first I talked to her about this a little bit in a polite way, and she explained to me that her native languages and the dialect she speaks are very, very fast paced, that there isn't a lot of breathing time or rooting time between waiting time, between one person speaking and the next. So for her, it isn't that she's being rude or that she's intentionally trying to speak over me. She simply is just like used to a much faster paced language than English is. So the first strategy that I encouraged was for her to simply listen for conversation cues, and this is a really simple one, but I think it's going to help her a lot. So I explained to her, I was like, if during a conversation when someone stops talking and it's clear that they're waiting for her to respond, then it's appropriate for her to start talking. Or if it sounds as if someone's asked her a question, or if there's no one else talking at the time, it's clear that she's okay to speak. And this is a little difficult for me because I'm a early childhood education major, so I'm used to working with kids. So I know how to teach children how to speak and how to like have an appropriate language conversation, how to turn take, but I didn't know how to present this to an adult who's older than me, who's like someone like a mentor. So I was like, I don't know how to explain this in a way that's not going to be demeaning to her. So I just kind of gave it to her as if they were like something she can listen to know that it's appropriate for her to start speaking at that time. And like I said, the whole reason that this is happening, her trouble with turn taking, is because she's simply used to a much faster paced language. Um, but I do believe that now that she understood and knows to listen for these cues, that that's going to definitely help her seem more polite. Because I know her personally, so I knew that she's a very polite woman. But I know that if she was in a different setting, maybe at work or talking to a boss, and that if they were having a conversation and she jumped in as she did with me, that it could be taken as impoliteness when it's simply something she hasn't learned yet. And then I gave her another skill, and this is what I was referring to when I was saying I teach this to children. So we use this in my classroom. It's called SLANT. So it stands for sit up straight, listen, answer and ask questions, nod to show interest, and track the speaker. So it's basically just teaching the procedures of a conversation. And once again, I had to present this to Anna in a way that wasn't demeaning because I didn't want to make her feel like she was a child and not just learning English, because she's I would say she's more of a level 4 than a level 3, but I just wanted to explain it to her in a way as kind of like a tip or a tool. So I was like, these are some things that you can do and look for while having a conversation that's going to make it a lot easier for you to start doing this turn taking more appropriately. Because I know I do understand it's going to be difficult for her to switch from something she's learned her entire life. Even she stated that the language she spoke while working in Hong Kong was very fast paced. So for her to go from these three very fast paced languages to go to English, which is a lot, we have a lot more wait time between speakers and we have a lot of like cues that let people know when it's polite to speak. Like, that's a lot for her to understand. So I thought that this slant strategy would help her to just understand really the procedure of a conversation, and that by doing this, she's going to, I think, really understand the turn taking strategy. But that's overall, I really enjoyed analyzing Anna's writing and her speaking because it was clear to me that she was just as excited as I was when we got back together and talked about all the findings and stuff. So I found this project to be really redeeming in the end. Thanks, guys.